Catch for having a chance. I do want to know, I recently lost my voice, so apologies on that. Haven't worked through the mic pretty closely. All right, so thank you for the introduction there. My name is Ross Hartmann, founder of Kiingo AI. Like she mentioned, we help companies with their training, their strategy, and their AI implementation. So today, I want to talk to you a little bit about generative AI, where you can practically apply it, strategies, etc. We're going to talk about what AI is, how it works, some of the strengths and weaknesses, and I'll talk a lot about limitations as well. Applications, a little bit about limitations. One thing I want to say is I want this to be highly interactive. So if you can please ask me questions, tell me where you want to go during this talk, tell me what topics you want to touch on. With all that said, I want to do a quick straw poll actually. Can you raise your hand if at least once a month or more you use one of these chatbots? So Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, once a month or more? Okay, great. And anybody once a week or more using these things? Amazing. Anybody addicted to it like me every single day? All right, perfect. That's great. Familiar. So just bear with me as I go through that. I also have a number of demos that I can certainly show you all, which I find to be pretty valuable. So we can do financial analysis, and I can show you kind of projecting into the future. We can do software generation. So if anybody needs a new company website here, real estate investment, creative tax strategies, competitive intelligence. This is a fun one. Anybody have a competitor out there they want to annihilate? Okay, I'm going to ask for a volunteer in a bit. And then we can go over a marketing strategy, creating a flyer, an advertisement, kind of a Mad Men type situation, putting a video into an AI model and then having it pop out an SOP, for instance, writing emails in your voice. Anybody gets asked the same question day in and day out, kind of an HR team, for instance. I can show you how to make a bot that will answer questions from your employee documentation. And then there's project risk analysis, deal sourcing, just solving a problem. Hey, our meetings are inefficient. We want to sell more, whatever that is. Is there any way to bump up the mic? I don't know. How's the volume? Is it a little low?
Low.
Yeah.
Let me ask.
Yeah.
Closer to the mic.
I can definitely do that. I guess I can just be on top of it then. All right, as long as you don't, you don't mind me just hunching over this thing. All right, so let's start with what AI is. So AI is basically just trying to get computers to think like humans, right? Not really surprising. The thing I want to tell you though is that this has been around for a long time. So this is not a new technology. Ever since we invented the computer back in the 40s and 50s, we've been trying to make them think. And so there's a lot of different subfields within this technology. But the point is that you've been using AI for a long time. It's in social media, it's in your phone, your assistants, it is in your thermostat, likely in your car, all those things, right? So it's not a new technology. The thing that is new is called generative AI. Anybody heard of this term? So generative AI is the ability to generate human-like content, videos, audio, those kinds of things. Now, we are going to focus on text creation, so language creation essentially. And the reason for that is that's where humans, that's where we do our logic and our reasoning. We do it through text or language more specifically. And so we're going to focus on that. All right, I want to show you just real quickly. Anybody seen VO3 or heard of VO3? So VO3 is a new AI generation model by Google. And actually, I'm not sure if the sound will come through, so we might just skip this, but it's amazing that you can now create human-like content that it'd probably be hard for you to tell whether it's real or not. Check this out.
I tried everything for my depression. Nothing worked.
Every day felt heavy. I felt trapped.
Then I tried Peppermint.
Our prescription helps your body secrete a special pheromone that attracts puppies.
I took the pill before bed, and when I woke up, there he was, the love of my life.
The pill does not target depression directly, but we've found that it's really difficult to be depressed when cute dogs show up at your doorstep. I used to feel so empty, but now I feel joy and mild concern how a pee stain got on the ceiling. My puppy listens twice as good as my ex-husband and only climbs into the lap of half as many of my friends.
He chewed up my bile and pooped in my good chair. But I'm happy for the first time in years.
Looks like a rat, barks like a demon. But he saved my life.
I named him Earl.
He follows me everywhere and farts in his sleep. Just like my first husband.
For when your therapist says, maybe you should get a dog.
All right, so this is something that is 100% AI generated. So all the audio, all the visuals there, totally AI generated using VO3. Now, what used to take $500,000 to create a commercial like that, $500 with VO3. So this technology is not just something that is kind of cool one day and might be interesting, it's applicable now. And just to show you one other example, NBA Finals a couple weeks ago, this was, I believe, the world's first completely AI generated ad, which was aired during the finals. So I want to show you this real quick.
Indiana gonna win, baby!
We're in Florida asking people what they put their money on. I'm all in on OKC.
Indiana got that dog in them.
Will egg prices go up this month?
I think we'll hit $20. How many hurricanes do you think we'll have this year? Kalshi lets you legally trade on anything, anywhere in the U.S.
OKC!
OKC!
All right, again, point is to show you that this technology is being used by businesses. There's this dentist in LA that has created this series of Bigfoot vlogs, basically, that's doing advertising for his company. And you can just do this through the AI. You just type in what you want, and then it generates these videos. It's pretty astounding. All right, so don't trust anything you see on the internet, which I know you know, but extra important. A couple things here, you probably know this, but OpenAI creates ChatGPT, Anthropic creates Claude, and then Google creates Gemini. These are arguably the big three frontier labs is what they're called. Now, when you're working with a chatbot, the way I want you to think about it is as a digital intern. And what I mean by that is it's not a professional, right? It's highly knowledgeable, though. It has read pretty much the entire internet. It knows more than you or I could ever hope to learn in a lifetime. However, it makes mistakes. And you probably notice, anybody heard of hallucinations? Yeah, it's where the AI makes something up and just confidently passes it off as true. It's something you have to watch out for. They're also eager to please. You can think of them as digital golden retrievers, essentially. So they want to tell you that your business idea is brilliant. So before you go to ChatGPT and say, hey, is this a good idea to, take out all this debt to start this new business idea, it's always going to tell you yes. You need to ask it to push back on you, tell it to play the devil's advocate, use black hat thinking, for instance, be critical, and that's where you're going to get the best output. Additionally, like I said, you probably know people like this in your lives. You ask them a question, they don't know the answer, they just confidently and authoritatively make something up. It's the same with these. So I'm not here to tell you that this technology is perfect. It's not. It's got limitations, it's got weaknesses, there are problems with it. But if you find the right use cases, it can be transformational. And that's obviously the goal today. So I know a few of you didn't raise your hand for, hey, I'm using this every day. So for those folks, I typically recommend that you start with one of these personal use cases. And the reason for this is I want you to start to see the value in your personal life so that that bleeds over to your business side. And you might be saying, well, I don't need to know how to use these tools. It's only kind of the people that work for me that need to. Arguably, you are the most important person for using these tools for strategy, for decision making, for turning strategy into tactical plans, for investment opportunities, etc. This is a thinking tool. It's a tool to help you think more critically, and that's something that I'm going to try to get across today. All right, anybody got a trip coming up? You planning to go anywhere? Anybody want to shout out a destination?
Hocking Hills, Ohio.
Ohio, all right. So you can say Hocking Hills, Ohio. Hey, go to chat, say I'm trying to go here. Maybe it's I'm bringing friends or family. This is my budget. This is how long I'm going to be there. I want you to pretend to be a local and give me a list of all the hidden gems and put together a personalized itinerary for me. If you haven't done this yet, please do. It's an exceptional technique. You'll likely get some good value out of it. Another one is recipes. Anybody taking a picture of what's in your pantry and your fridge and upload it to ChatGPT? Tell it to be a Michelin star chef and put together some recipes for you based on your taste preferences, dietary restrictions, what your doctor's telling you to do, right? It's amazing. It can do this very, very well. Now, Anybody shop online recently, intentionally or unintentionally? Okay, so you can go into ChatGPT, and I'm specifically going to talk about the O3 model. So by default, you're likely using GPT-4o. This is a model that answers you immediately. O3 is a model that thinks before it speaks, and I'll talk about that a little bit, but it's an exceptional research model. So I can ask it to find coupons, deals, incentives, whenever I'm purchasing anything from a toaster to a car, right? It costs you nothing to do this. Just use it through ChatGPT.
Does O3 cost different than 4.0 or 4.0?
The cost, if you have the $20 a month version, then you'll be able to use it pretty much as much as you want. Yeah. It's a very good question. So another one here is medical tests. So I know we often get back medical tests or results that are in legal, or I guess medicalese, doctorese, and you can't understand what the heck they're trying to say. Put that into a chatbot. Say, hey, can you interpret this for me? Explain it in plain English. And it does that very, very well. Obviously, it doesn't replace primary care physician, but it's pretty good. It's good for workout plans. If you don't have access to equipment, you only have 15 minutes. It can be used for journaling, chatting, gaming, writing bedtime stories for kids, grandkids, greeting cards, writing an angry letter to a repair person, right? The point is, this technology, I want you to get into it in your personal life so that the value starts to bleed into your business side. You'll start to form a habit around using it, and that's the key. Now, obviously, we are here to talk about the business use cases, so I'm just going to go through a few of these real quick, and then I'm going to jump into a bunch of demos for you. First, lowest hanging fruit, marketing and sales, no doubt. Blog posts, social media posts, advertising content, sales letters, but it can do more than that. It can create literal websites for you. Our company website is 100% AI generated. There wasn't a single line of code that was written by a human on here. We use Claude to do this. You can also have it create embeddable widgets for your blog posts. You can have it help you refine your ideal customer profile, your marketing strategy. You can use it for creating 1,000 different ads and then posting those automatically, and then taking the Meta and Google ad campaign report and then have it analyze that and find the top 5% that are performing, keep those going, and then start experimenting with other ads. You can automate your marketing and sales pipeline through a lot of these things. It can help you do lead sourcing, lead generation, hyper-personalized outreach, right? Happy to show you these individual things if anything on here sounds interesting. Contract analysis. Anybody using AI for this? All right, few folks. Obviously, this does not replace your lawyers. You still have to send your contracts to your lawyers, but it can help you with that first pass. You can say, hey, are there any loopholes I should be concerned about? Any place I could get burned, for instance? Any red flags? Again, it's a good first set of eyes on your contracts. It can also help you draft basic NDAs, service level agreements, for instance. Q&A. Anybody get asked the same question day in and day out? Imagine so. You got an HR person that does. Again, upload your employee handbook, upload your policies, benefits, and now your employees can start going to this chatbot to answer what's our maternity leave, what's our sick leave, right? Just saving time. But it's same with field manuals, training manuals, SOPs that nobody reads, customer support documents that nobody reads, any long form documentation. Nobody knows how to use Salesforce in your company and you spend thousands of dollars on it, right? Upload these documents and then people can start getting the information out of them.
Ross, a couple of months ago, Wall Street Journal had an article about sort of AI and the confusion in organizations that leaders may not even know how to direct people. Employees are probably using it and they don't know how. And a lot of companies don't necessarily have an AI policy, and there's a lot of employees who are really unsure about, am I breaking a rule here? Am I allowed to do this? What is your advice around creating an AI policy for the organization?
I love it. All right. So you definitely need an AI use policy. ChatGPT is actually pretty good at creating these now, unsurprisingly. But a couple things that you wanted to address is where's our data stored? Who has access to our data? What's an acceptable use and an unacceptable use of AI, for instance? You can talk a little bit about ethical use of AI, the biases that are intrinsic in the models, for instance. You can also talk about how are you going to treat this as far as socializing it in your company. What I mean by that is, there's this phrase that I like, that it's not a process unless it's socialized, basically, in your company. Meaning, people need to be talking about it, sharing it, using it together. It shouldn't be just siloed. And that's exactly the same as AI. So if I went around the room here and I asked everybody for 1 or 2 ways that they love using ChatGPT, I'm going to get some ideas that I've never heard of. And likewise, people across the room are going to say, never heard of that, love that, I'm going to start doing that, right? In your companies, you should start sharing use cases. Every Friday, 30 minutes during some tactical meeting or something, start sharing how we're using this technology. Likewise, you can have AI Spotlight of the Week, for instance. So start highlighting folks who are doing this well, even financially incentivized. $1,000 a month to the person who creates the coolest automation or the most creative use of AI. Because again, you're trying to create a habit and a behavior around using this technology. I would think about this as a computer, in the sense of this is a general purpose technology that is being introduced to your company for the first time, just like the personal computer in the 90s. When people first get it, they don't know when to use it, they don't know how to use it, and they have not established a behavior or a habit around using it. And those are your challenges, right? And one of the key ways to do that, yes, you should do training for folks specifically, but you should also start socializing it in your organization so that you share use cases and prompts. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about prompts. Has anybody heard of that term, a prompt? It's kind of your question or your instruction to the AI. You and your organization should have a prompt library. This is not even just for the whole company. This should be on an individual level, on a team level, departments, etc. These are your SOPs for the AI. Just like humans need SOPs to perform repetitive tasks, exactly the same with the AI. You need these prompts which act as your SOPs. So I'm pretty passionate about, obviously, how can companies adopt AI well, and I've seen a lot of companies not do it well, but these are some of the really important parts. Is this is a new general purpose technology. You are not going to stop it. People may stop telling you that you're using it if you don't approve of it, but they are going to use it because it makes their day easier. So you need to start, in my opinion, opening this up and start talking about it. Just treat it like a new technology, like the computer, and start socializing it in your company. And have an AI use policy as part of that. Make sure you have an AI champion as well. So who is going to aggressively stay on top of the news and the research? What is changing in this field? It changes quickly, obviously, right? So make sure they're on top of that and that they push you forward aggressively. Not someone who's going to say, let's use Microsoft Copilot and check back in 6 months, right? If that is you, you're not going to make it in an AI first world, essentially. And I'm going to show you some of that and what it's able to do.
What's your recommendation? You had mentioned uploading, contracts, HR documents. Couldn't that be a breach of confidentiality with a third party, or does that become public information? Like, what is Gemini and ChatGPT? What are they doing with this information?
Yeah, well said. Okay, so first thing you should note is Claude does not train on your data. I'll just put that out there. They don't train on your data if you put it in there. Gemini and ChatGPT do by default, so you have to turn it off. Now, you can turn it off. One thing I want to mention, though, is these companies do not publicly share your information, and there's a reason. It's not out of the goodness of their hearts. The reason they don't share your information, and that they don't want to, is that the data you put into their systems is their proprietary, I shouldn't say proprietary, I should say it's their competitive edge. So the data you put into ChatGPT, by default, they're using that data to train their models. They don't want Google getting access to that. They don't want DeepSeek having access or Anthropic. That's their company's competitive edge, is the data you put in. So that's the reason why, by default, they're not publicly sharing it. It's their data. Now, you can make it so that it doesn't, they don't train on it, right? And so the way to do that is you go to your settings, you go to data controls, and then there's a setting that says improve the model for everyone. Which seems like a friendly enough setting, right? But no, you do not want to do this. So make sure that this is off. Now, this is on by default, so you have to go into your settings, data controls, improve the model for everyone should be off. Now, if you're in a team version, there's different kind of tiers of ChatGPT models. The team version is one where it's $25 a month instead of $20 a month. This is off by default, and it's locked in the off position. So if you're going to roll this out to your team and your company, which I suggest that you do, likely you'll want to get the Teams version for folks.
Question: Are you going to share any of this, or should we be writing it down or putting it in our phone?
I can share some of this information. I'm happy to share the slides if you want to.
Being recorded and will be on YouTube for the Parker Center channel.
Oh, amazing. Perfect. Great. Good call. So yeah, that's a little bit about data privacy and security. I will say some companies, even after I tell them that, they're still not fully comfortable with that, which I totally understand. Anybody use Microsoft Azure or AWS, Google Cloud? You might be using it and your tech folks are using it and you're not sure. It's a cloud platform where you can host servers online. The reason why I tell you this is you can host these models on your own servers. So if you don't feel comfortable using ChatGPT, you can use something called Open Web UI. This is open source. It's intended to be a kind of clone of ChatGPT, and it lets you host this on your Azure environment, on your servers. So all of your conversations are on your servers. You can host the models in your Azure tenant, so only Microsoft can see your data. OpenAI gets no access to it, but you're still using OpenAI's models. And the reason for this is they have that really close relationship with Microsoft. So hopefully that helps. If you are concerned, you can host it on your own models or your own servers. Great. Any other questions so far? I know we got kicked off there with culture and kind of data. Yeah. Oh, please.
Yeah, one of the things I discovered when I started using it, that it's not like using a computer. It's like training a horse. You can use exactly the same prompt, and you're trying to get a particular performance out of the AI, because you can use the same prompt and get slightly different answers each time. So
yeah.
How do you approach interacting with an AI with that perspective, where it's like it really is, a performance art?
That's a great analogy. Yeah, it's the way I like to think about this is, okay, every time you have a new conversation with ChatGPT, you should treat it like you just hired somebody. It's day one. They're new to your industry, they're new to your company, and they have no idea who you are. And they didn't read your company website. They literally have no idea who you are, but you hired them anyway, right? And so you have to train them now. So you have to teach them who you are and what you do, and all the context of your processes and what you're trying to accomplish and what you've done and haven't done. All that context becomes incredibly important. Not even just valuable, critical to get valuable information. Now, to your point, I can put in the same prompt and get back different answers each time. So AI has a level of non-determinism in it, essentially randomness. That again means you should treat this technology as experimental. Not that the technology is experimental, but that when you're working with it, you're experimenting. So meaning, don't expect to get the right answer the first time. You're going to get back an answer. It's going to be slightly off. You go back and edit your prompt, because you'll learn, why didn't it follow exactly what I wanted? I'm going to go back and edit that so I give it that information it needed. And I'll show you that a couple times today. But it's well said. I mean, the point is, don't think this technology is going to be perfect the first time you ask it a question. It's not how it works. To your analogy, it is very much, I have to work with it and guide it along the way, essentially. It's a good point.
So I guess in the same question regarding the proprietary data, let's say you had a contract. You upload the attachment, PDF or whatever, to the ChatGPT. You have that improve the model for everyone button turned off. Can I be assured that that contract that I've uploaded is, only visible to me, and none of the terms of that agreement are going to be visible to the outside world?
Yeah, so they're kind of, again, from a competitive standpoint, they're incentivized to keep that for themselves. They don't want other folks to use it. According to their terms of service, if you have the training turned off, no, they're not going to share it, and they're not going to train their model with it, meaning it shouldn't appear in future models. Now, it really is, just like anything else, comes down to a matter of trust. Do you trust the vendor that you're using? I think it would be a huge scandal if they actually were training when they said they're not going to. And so I tend to trust it for that reason, combined with kind of the incentives. But it's fair. If you don't trust them, that's okay. You do have other options. You can host the models in your own environment and be sure that they're not training. one of the things I want to get across, you don't have to use Microsoft Copilot. You can, but you don't have to. You don't have to be stuck in that world. A lot of companies will say, I don't trust OpenAI, so I'm going to use Copilot, and then their employees just suffer. And it's just not very good. Like, I'm hoping that it will get better. I'm sure that it will, but it's just not transformational in the way some of these other technologies are. Great. So I want to kick off a couple of demos, and I'm unfortunately in an hour not going to be able to teach you how to use AI, in depth, but I am going to show you a little bit of what's possible so you can get a feel for it. So first of all, I think I saw a hand back there for a competitor. Do you have a specific competitor in mind you want to go after? All of them? Do you want to run an analysis here?
Sure.
Okay.
Chad's probably done that already.
Okay, great. And so who is it?
Well, let's say one of our competitors is American Escrow. We're an escrow company, Sunwest Escrow.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to show you a couple things. First thing I'm going to show you is how to use deep research. Anybody heard of deep research? So this is kind of like having a PhD research assistant with you. It can create research papers on pretty much any topic. And in order to take down American Escrow here, we are first going to gather a competitive intelligence dossier on them, basically. What's all the public information we can find about them? So here's how I'm going to do that. I go to my tools, and then I click Run Deep Research. Now this is pretty new. It used to be that it could only search the web. Recently they added new connectors here. This can now connect into your SharePoint, your Teams, your Outlook, your calendar. So if you all have ever been in that situation, hey, I know there's this email, there was this back and forth, I don't remember the guy's name, but I know it's important, I have to find it. Tell chat, connect it to your email, and it will go out and try to find that email exchange for you. Or that specific file in SharePoint that you can't find and it's been 30 minutes, again, it'll tell you whether it's in there. So we're starting, and we're going to get GPT-5, it is confirmed, as early as today, tomorrow, July, as late as likely September. So sometime during this summer, we're going to get GPT-5. It is going to be more integrated with the software that you use every day. All right, so let's kick this off. And I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Terry.
Terry. Okay, great. So let's take this, and it's going to ask us a couple follow-up questions. And can I get your company's name?
Sunwest Escrow.
Okay, we just want text. Do you want to prioritize U.S. market dynamics only or consider international?
No,
Yes.
just really local.
Just really New Mexico. All right, let's kick it off. So this is, anybody heard of an AI agent? So an AI agent, really loosely defined, I like to think of it as a spectrum. The most agentic tools are those that kind of act like digital employees. You give them objectives, they go off on their own time, and then they accomplish your task. And they can integrate with your software and your environment to use those tools. This is a very low agency tool here, but I would consider this a very basic form of an agent. So this could take anywhere from, let's say, 6 minutes, even up to an hour usually for a public company where it has a ton of information to find. And it's just going to search online. And one of the interesting things, once this gets kicked off, we can actually read the inner monologue of the AI. So it's going to be thinking and searching, and I'll show you this in a second once it does get kicked off. But I think I had a question, yeah?
You're still in 03. Do you recommend that particular service for doing this kind of research?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's,
Ross, can you just repeat it so that everyone can hear it?
yeah, thank you. So you noticed that I was on 03. Do I recommend that model for this kind of research? So you'll notice that there is this drop down in the top left in chat. Most of you are likely using GPT-4o. This is the standard model. There's nothing wrong with this. It's a good model. There are obviously a ton of other ones, and they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. Now, OpenAI knows that this is honestly pretty terrible. the fact that you have to come in here and try to decide which one should I use in which circumstance. One morning, you're gonna wake up, and it's just gonna be called GPT-5, and there's gonna be no selection. And you're just gonna talk to it, and the model's gonna decide how to treat your question. Until that day, if you want to, there are these different models. So O3 is a very good model for brainstorming and problem solving and research. With that said, it hallucinates. It hallucinates more than any of the other models. It happens to be the model that I use every day. It's my default model. So you're probably asking, why the heck would you use a model that hallucinates all the time? Well, here's the reason. Hallucination, you can also think of it as imagination or creativity or lateral thinking. So when I'm solving a problem or I'm brainstorming, I want creativity, I want imagination. I want it to go a little bit off the rails and consider things that I never had. And so that's why I love O3. It's a very creative, technical model.
Can you transfer a conversation you've been having in 4.0, because I have different channels, move a channel into O3, and so all of the stuff that you've already done it learns that?
Yes. So at any point during your conversation, you can actually switch models. Let's do a marketing strategy real quick for somebody. Who wants a marketing strategy? Free labor here.
I'll take one.
Okay, great.
I mean, all of you didn't say anything, so move it along.
And your website?
Firecracker Leadership.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I want to show you a couple things, and as part of this, I'm going to show you maybe different models. No, that's okay. So first thing you should know, how does a beginner use ChatGPT? A beginner uses ChatGPT and kind of treats it like a fancy Google. So they come in here and they say, hey, solve my problem, or just answer my question. They ask one thing and they expect the perfect answer. That's not how this technology works. But if I were trying to create a marketing strategy for you as a beginner to ChatGPT, I'd probably do something like this. I'd come in here and I'd say, hey, create a marketing strategy. And it's going to go online. And so Janice, if you can read this, let me know what it says. So it says clarify, or what you think. It says clarify and elevate your unique value proposition. Target and expand your audience through local outreach and virtual expansion. Do some content-driven lead generation. Amplify thought leadership and PR. Community and peer-powered amplification. Optimize your digital presence. And here's a little bit about your budget.
Sweet.
What do you think?
It's direct and...
It's direct. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not as... I've honestly seen worse. But the point is, it's maybe a little high level, doesn't really get into details of anything. It's not very customer centric, not very actionable, just kind of telling you, hey, these are the top level things you can do. Here's how a more advanced person would use ChatGPT. So the first thing that they would do is they would treat it like a person instead of like Google. And remember that analogy of you just hired this person. They have no idea who you are. They don't know what you do. So instead of just saying, hey, create me a marketing strategy, the first thing you want to do is prime your conversation. You want to have it research who you are. Now, this is not for your benefit, obviously. You know everything about you. This thing doesn't. So here's how I'm going to start. I'm just going to say research this company. And I'm going to use O3 for this. And I want you to see how O3 does this. Remember, when I have 4.0 search for something, it kind of does a Google search and it takes the top 2 or 3 results and reads those. Watch what O3 does.
So it thinks that Steph Tuss is the founder, and that is not true.
Oh, and that's okay. So it just has a hypothesis, and then it's going to go online and research and find out that that's not true. Yeah, good point. And you can see I'm looking at its internal monologue, its train of thought, essentially. And it can make mistakes in here. It's going to have a thought. It's going to, and there's another name involved. There we go. That's just the site might belong to. It pulls up some other information. Now it's going to search for you specifically. We didn't tell it about you, right? So it's going online, it's finding information at the site, it's forming new hypotheses, it's doing other searches. It's searching like a human would, essentially. And let's see what we get. So it took 34 seconds where GPT-4o might respond in 2 or 3 seconds. This is a model that thinks before it speaks. And typically we like that. That's good because it gives us better results. So let me know if anything in here is incorrect. So it notes you are the founder and CEO, so it corrected its thinking there. And it's also citing its sources in here. A little bit about your core offerings. How's it looking so far? Good. So it's pulling back all this just from online. Probably nothing new here. We're just telling it to research you. Now, I'll just note here, I started this conversation in 03. I can now just switch over to 4.0 and say do a deeper dive. This will actually not be a deeper dive because 4.0 is not as good at research as 03, but just so you can see I can switch models. You'll also notice that different models have different personalities. 4.0 likes using a lot of emojis. It's like a chat partner, basically. Where 03 loves making tables, and 03 is very technical. It gets into jargon pretty often. So, okay, it just found a little bit more information. Next thing I want to do, instead of asking for a marketing strategy, I'm not going to do that. We'll just switch to 4.0 for the remainder so I don't have to make you all wait for this. I'm going to ask, what are the company's target markets here? So I need you to let me know if these are correct or if we want to modify any. So it says growth-oriented business owners and CEOs between 5 to 100 million annual revenue. Executive teams and senior leaders. Does that all sound right? Okay. HR and culture-driven organizations. Bonus group of female leaders and entrepreneurs. Anything on here that you'd want to add, remove, update? Pretty good. So one of the other things to note is because we want to treat this like a human, we also should not be afraid to give it feedback. So if it gives us something incorrect, we need to be willing to push back on it and correct it. If you're just accepting whatever the AI has to say, you're not going to have a good time, basically. So read it and correct it. Now we're going to do some customer persona development for you. Again, I'm not asking for a marketing strategy. Instead, I'm building the conversation. I'm doing priming. So it's going to say persona 1 is a scaling visionary. Mark Sullivan, just making this up. A little bit about demographics, psychographics here, mission-driven but exhausted from carrying all the weight, believes in coaching but wants real results, not fluff. Some of Mike Sullivan's goals here, some of the challenges, what they're looking for, and how you might be able to help. And then we're going to have this emerging influencer, senior leader in transition. Again, same information, but this is just giving you these different personas, basically, that you might want to target. And then after this, and you'll notice I'm using a prompt library here, right? I don't need to rewrite these prompts every time. I can go back to them. I advise this for you individually and for your companies as well. What are the best marketing channels to reach each of these personas? It's going to give us a high-level result here. So for a scaling visionary, referral networks, right? Accountants, attorneys, past clients, local CEO roundtables and events, New Mexico Angels, Vistage, EO, Chamber, LinkedIn thought leadership, case study webinars, direct email outreach via high-trust introductions. And then it's going to give us some different channels for the other personas here. Now, one of the critical techniques when working with models is called self-reflection. So I've been showing you, we kind of just asked questions and got things back. We haven't really built off of anything too much that it said. You all know the word prompting. Anybody heard of prompt engineering? So prompt engineering is, how do I ask the best questions to get the best answers? And one of those techniques, like I said, is self-reflection. It's where you tell the model, hey, your answer wasn't very good. I want you to criticize yourself and try that again. So we're going to tell it, I want you to play devil's advocate, think about your answers, why might these be wrong, and how could they be improved? So for the scaling visionary, why the channel strategy might be wrong. Referrals are passive. Waiting on word of mouth may slow pipeline growth or limit reach beyond the founder's personal network, right? Local roundtables may lack diversity of thought. Same city CEOs are an echo chamber, limited cross-industry innovation. LinkedIn organic content may not reach. Some CEOs delegate LinkedIn or use it sparingly. Here's some alternative approaches. targeted direct mail with physical assets. High-value CEOs will open well-designed physical collateral. A workbook and a handwritten note can stand out. You can also automate handwritten notes now, by the way. Podcast advertising on business scaling shows. Many CEOs prefer passive content consumption while commuting. Podcast sponsorship could outperform LinkedIn. Strategic partnerships with growth stage VCs or fractional CFOs. Catch CEOs at inflection points, preparing to scale or exit. Firecracker could be their leadership development arm. And I know things like Apollo and Zoom Info, you can actually set these strategic inflection points to be notified when companies are in that position. So what do you think of this revised set of suggestions?
I like the alternatives because it's not the same thing that everybody thinks you do.
Exactly. And that's the point of self-reflection, is you're basically saying, that's a good first start, but dig deeper. Give me more information.
I would love to see the stuff that you're doing for SumWest, just because when I use AI, like it'll give me some information and it'll say, hey, you want me to create a graphic or create a chart for you? And whenever I say yes, it gives me crap.
Fair.
I mean, real honestly. And,
Yeah.
and when it says, do you want that? And I'll say, yeah, you don't really do that very well, so no thank you. And they're like, well, thank you for the feedback. But I've also read that, that ChatGPT doesn't pay attention to every time the bot says sorry. And so, they're not learning.
That's pointless. Yeah. Totally pointless. If ever the AI is apologizing to you, I would actually call that a red flag that your conversation is going down a bad path. No joke. If it's apologizing to you, it's not going to get better at that point. So go back up further in the conversation and change your prompt. Additionally, you'll notice that chat does ask a lot of questions after it sends a message. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? I always ignore it. I lead the conversation here, basically. You can even be good for ideas, no doubt, but I should be the one to guide where we're going and what we're doing. And then additionally, just saying, so it'll suggest relatively generic things, like you were saying, hey, do you want to report on this? And it's just like, if you say yes, it'll be super generic. But if you go in there and say, I need you to help me craft a slide deck for this. First of all, it doesn't do PowerPoint presentations well. You can use Gamma if you need to do that, but ChatGPT, ChatGPT by default doesn't do that well. So Gamma.app, but Chat can create content for slide decks very well. So you want to tell it, what are the best techniques for making high impact, visually valuable PowerPoint presentations? Now create the content for those, basically, 1 or 2 bullet points per slide or something, and it'll create that very well. So it's really just in how you ask the question. It's a great point.
When you say you go back and edit the prompt that you've given, how do you do that without keeping all of the garbage it's giving you below it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So you can just go back up to a previous message and click this pencil, and that allows me to change this. I could even just submit the exact same message, and then to the point we had earlier, this will give me different answers, even though it's the exact same prompt. Or I could say, I want you to go off the rails in your suggestions, right?
So if you veered off of your path, it's not gonna incorporate all of that. It'll reprompt it from there.
So yeah, what you'll see is a 2 out of 2, and I can go back to the 1 out of 2, and I can see my previous conversation. It creates a branch essentially, and I can go back. So people don't actually buy leadership coaching the way we think they do. Alternative take: target coaching skeptics instead, the ones who rolls their eyes at leadership firms. Build an ironic quiz. Is your team quietly plotting your downfall? Kind of like that, actually.
Some of them are.
Yeah. If your meetings are a waste of time, it's your fault, not theirs. I mean, that's kind of cool. So you can push it. If I say, be insane, just go off the rails, you get less conventional content here, which is pretty cool. I can tell it to take on the role of a depressed gothic bartender. Try again. So you can. Welcome to Firecracker, I guess. Okay, so the point is you can also gear it towards different roles. This is kind of fun, especially if you're doing marketing or social media. If you want it to be more impactful and use the same technique, if you're doing financial analysis, for instance, then you could tell it to take on the role of a professional financial analyst and use the techniques and the frameworks that they would use. That can be pretty valuable. So I'm not going back to Sunset Escrow right now because it's still analyzing actually American Escrow. So we will get back to it. But on the
can you use it to improve your prompts? How do you use it to improve prompts themselves?
Yeah, fair point. So this, you'll see this prompt up here that I put in, super long, super technical here. I'm sure you won't be surprised to know that I didn't actually write this prompt. I didn't get it from anyone else either. I actually had an AI write it for me. And that is called meta prompting. So this is how I do that. Anybody got a problem real quick? Our meetings aren't efficient enough. We don't close enough deals. I'm sure we don't make enough money, right? Let's just say our meetings are inefficient, right? So here's how I would do this. Let's say I wanted to have a language model create me prompts. I would say this. What is priming and prompt chaining in the context of prompt engineering? So what I'm doing here is I am priming the model, getting it to warm up to the idea of what prompting is and what the best techniques are when prompting. Now, after we get this, I'm going to say, I need to create a valuable, actually no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, what are some valuable techniques and frameworks that one would use to improve the efficiency of a company's meetings? So you'll notice I'm asking, what are the techniques, the frameworks, the methodologies that you could use to improve meetings? After I get this list, now I've primed the conversation, I'm going to say, create a prompt chain that anyone could run in a language model that would help them improve their meetings, their meeting efficiency. And let's just see what we get. And real quick, here are some of the techniques. The is this meeting necessary filter, that's a good one. The action-oriented agenda, so purpose, agenda items, and an owner. Are the right people actually in the meeting? During the meeting, the active facilitator role, flipped meeting framework, all right, a bunch of different things. And now I'm going to say, now that we've got it to learn a little bit about prompting and a little bit about the best techniques for running meetings efficiently, now I'm going to say, create some prompts for me. This is a little bit of how is the sausage made here. You can see I'm going pretty fast, obviously, just due to time. But this is a little bit more of an advanced technique, but this is called meta prompting, and you can get the language model to write its own prompts. So here we go. You're an expert in executive assistant and world-class productivity coach, or you're an expert. Your primary goal is to eliminate unnecessary meetings and make required meetings ruthlessly efficient. I need your help preparing for an upcoming meeting. Analyze the information I provide. If you determine the meeting is necessary, do the following, right? I don't have to write any of this. And so now I can just take this and I put this in our prompt library. Every time we're going to have a meeting, I run this. Do we actually need this thing? How can we run it effectively, etc.?
When you produce output with the GTP and then try to store it in like Google Docs, it loses its formatting on some things. How do you fix that?
Great point. So I'll say this. I'll be in ChatGPT. Let's use the depressed bartender results here. And I'll say export this to a Word document with professional formatting. And then it's going to write some code and actually export it to a Word document. And you can download that. So I'll show you that in a second. But just due to time, I know we probably only have a few minutes left, and I want to get to this competitive intelligence real quick. Here we go. This is a competitive intelligence report for American Escrow. Now, we're not going to read this whole thing. I'm happy to send this to you if you want. Some of the top vulnerabilities for American Escrow: narrow strategic focus and dependence on local niche, outdated technology and process limitations, premium fees with limited competitive differentiation, family-centric management and talent risks, and customer service gaps and reputation erosion. Again, this is not for our benefit, this dossier. The reason we did this was so that it's in the AI's short-term memory. And now the AI is going to use this. And look at how long it is, by the way. I mean, compare that to a standard ChatGPT answer, right? This is a 20-page PhD research paper, basically, with all of its information cited. So next thing we're going to do is we are going to have it do a kill the company strategic analysis. This is a real thing. If we had more time, I would actually switch to O3 Pro. O3 Pro is going to give us more insightful and impactful answers here, but it takes 15 to 20 minutes every time you ask it a question, so we are not going to wait for that. Instead, we're just going to ask standard O3, and we'll see what we get. So it's now going to do an attack-focused SWOT analysis on American escrow. It's going to use Porter's 5 forces from the attacker lens. It's going to use a value chain analysis with a disruption focus and use the business model canvas using an attack simulation. And again, I didn't write these prompts, right? I used meta prompting to have the AI write these. Here's our advanced kill the company attack vector synthesis. So Terry, here's our first attack. Ready? Launch a mobile-first self-service escrow portal or app with instant onboarding and multiple e-payment options to make their pay-per-form ACH setup look archaic. Offer free migration of existing contracts. Here's the evidence from the report. Portal access requires mailed form, no online pay. Here's the next one, flat fee price blitz. Publish a transparent flat $10 an account plan, no add-ons, and a meet or beat guarantee to undercut their tiered and surcharges schedule. So here's a little bit about their fees. Statewide digital lead capture funnel, SEO and targeted ads for owner finance, escrow, New Mexico to sap their word of mouth pipeline. Capture first page rankings they don't defend. They have minimal online presence, 270 Facebook followers, no content marketing. Spanish first campaign. Dedicated bilingual site section and Spanish radio ads position us as the truly Latino-friendly escrow. They claim bilingual, but no dedicated Spanish user interface or ads. So you can see here, there's just a ton of different attack vectors here.
So Ross, would you suggest, because I'm looking at that going, I feel like I should do that on my own company
Yes.
to see where my weaknesses are so I can deal with those?
Yeah, 100%. I've definitely seen that. So you run this on your own company, you find your weaknesses, and then you ask for a risk mitigation strategy, and it'll help you guard against those. And then if you are going to do this, especially if you're going to start attacking the company, they're not just going to sit there, they're going to respond, right? Or at least ideally. So what you can do is you can say, hey chat, when we do this, how are they going to respond? Give me the 3 to 5 most likely scenarios, and what are the counterpunches? Like, what could we have ready once they start responding, right? And the other thing you can do, you can take this and say, what are the top 3 to 5 that are most impactful and most exploitable? And we've got a ton of really high-level strategic information here, so we can say, how do we make this tactical? So for instance, I would do this for a marketing strategy too. Let's say, this is great, but honestly, I'm not going to do all these things. I have 2 people who can work on this part-time, and they have no budget. What can we do in the next 90 days to move the needle? So again, moving it from the strategic down into the tactical, and actually turning this into projects. And then if you're running EOS, how can we turn these into rocks? How can we check in? You can make it so that you have KPIs tied to these things. Here we go. Own the local digital front door, weeks 1 through 5. Claim and optimize SunWest Escrow on Google Business Profile. Add photo service list, and you might already have this, but just suggesting that. Launch 2 comparison blog posts on your existing site. Ask every satisfied client for a Google review. Aggressive referral grab. Create a simple PDF fee and service cheat sheet. Personal call blitz to top 40 Albuquerque and Santa Fe real estate brokers and 10 real estate attorneys. So giving you actionable things somebody could do part-time with no budget. If you have a budget, if you have more resources, tell it, and it can refine this toward what you've got.
What's an example of how you used it in your own business?
For me? Yeah, all the time. And still not enough. So for instance, we're using it for lead sourcing and lead generation. I don't think I have my login set right now. So basically, I'll show you that later. We use N8N, which is an automation platform. So we do lead sourcing from Apollo, and it will create hyper-personalized messages to send out to folks on LinkedIn, for instance. And another thing we do is, I have an AI, utility program I wrote, where every time we get an email, the AI will look up all the conversation we've had with that person in Outlook across our entire company, and then also all the meetings we've had with them through our AI note taker, and put that whole relationship into the AI to draft 3 versions of a response for that person. So every time I get an email in my same Outlook calendar, or in my Outlook chain, I have 3 responses ready to go, and I can just edit or send. There's a ton of other stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Big picture, where are we in the timeline? This is growing exponentially, kind of compared to the rollout of the internet, and where do you think personally goes? Is it going to become smarter than we are and replace us? There's a lot of discussion on that right now. But this is a real threat. What's your personal take?
Yeah, I am. I think I'm at time, but I'll just give you this real quick. GPT-2 came out in 2019, took a year and a half to come out with GPT-3, took 2.5 years to come out with GPT-4, and then a year to GPT-4o. Then we unlocked reasoning models, 01, 03, 04. And then the time between releases moved from years to months, and the capabilities started absolutely taking off. This is a benchmark of human-level pattern recognition. It's called ARC-AGI. If you listen to the companies, and I'm not saying they're right, but just listen real quick.
I don't know exactly when it'll come. I don't know if it'll be 2027. I think it's plausible it could be longer than that. I don't think it will be a whole bunch longer than that, when AI systems are better than humans at almost everything, better than almost all humans at almost everything, and then eventually better all humans in everything. Even robotics, we make good enough AI systems, they'll enable us to make better robots.
So this is the CEO of Anthropic. They make Claude. They're one of the big 3 frontier AI labs. Let's take a second. He's probably pretty optimistic. He's talking to his investors saying, hey, look how cool we are. We need more money, right? Google's actually a little more pessimistic than this. When you guys think that Google thinks AI will be better than most humans at most things? Any guesses? 2030, yeah. So the point is, these AI labs, they don't think that it's 50 years out. They don't think that it's 20 years out. They think in the next few years, you're going to start getting AI that is better than most humans at most things. Anybody see Claude computer use this last October? This is an AI. It's a prototype.
So
it can control.
First thing that's going to happen is Claude's going to start taking screenshots of my screen and quickly realizes that the equipment company isn't actually in the spreadsheet. So the first thing it does is it swaps over to a CRM and searches for the company we're interested in.
And then it finds the company in the CRM, pulls the information, and fills out the vendor request form. And this is an AI completely controlling user interface using the mouse and the keyboard. This is not as reliable as you want. It's not as flexible as you want. It's more expensive than you want. But this is a prototype, and this shows you what the AI labs are working on. This is not science fiction. This is where they're going. So it's important for you all to have a plan. What are we going to do to prepare for this, right? One last thing. If you are a skeptic, and I totally understand that, there are a lot of reasons to be skeptical. These are 2 leading engineers at Anthropic. Well, just listen to this.
Even if AI progress totally stalls, you think that the models are really spiky and they don't have general intelligence, it's so economically valuable and sufficiently easy to collect data on all of these different jobs, these white-collar job tasks, such that, to Sholto's point, we should expect to see them automated within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Like even if you need to hand spoon every single task to the model.
It's like economically worthwhile to do so. Even if like algorithmic progress stalls out and we just never figure out how to keep progress going, which I don't think is the case. That hasn't stalled out yet. It seems to be going great. The current suite of algorithms are sufficient to automate white-collar work, provided you have enough of the right kinds of data.
Yes.
And in a way that compared to the TAM of salaries for all of those kinds of work is so trivially worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you one more general question?
Please.
You're out of time, but everybody talks about the value of data, but to me, science is data plus a theory. What about people bringing proprietary theories? You call them models, I guess, but proprietary theories for interpreting the data to gain an advantage rather than the data itself.
I think there's a ton of value in that, obviously, and that's kind of what humans do well, right? Is coming up with those theories and interpreting the data. The goal of these AI labs is to have models that do that. Anybody heard of protein folding? It's like this super complicated thing that I don't understand. It's very important in biology for discovering new medicine and drugs, right? Demis Hassabis, CEO of DeepMind in Google, their lead of their AI, invented AlphaFold. Protein folding used to be an unsolved problem. It would take a PhD candidate, their entire kind of PhD program, to do the structure of one protein. This is now a solved problem. And the way they did this is an AI model that plays against itself like a game and can generate data that didn't exist before. So we talk about data being so valuable, but we're entering a world where AI can actually just create data in a simulated environment. He won the Nobel Prize for this, and this is the head of one of the top 3 research labs. So it's a good point. I'll tell you the AI labs are trying to get the AI to do those theories. So last thing I want to show you real quick. What do you need to do to prepare? Make sure you have an AI champion. Make sure they are aggressively moving you forward. Make sure you feel comfortable on your data privacy and security side. If you don't train your AIs, they are not going to give you good information. From a top-down perspective, what's your business strategy? How is it implementing AI, including AI agents? Have you trained your team to use AI effectively? You cannot just hand somebody ChatGPT and say you're going to be 30% more effective now. Congratulations. They don't know when to use it. They don't know how to use it, and they have not established a culture or a habit around using it. Likewise, start socializing it. Share your use cases, share your prompts. Make sure you stay on top of the latest technology as it changes, and it does happen. It changes quickly, right? So top 5 takeaways: appoint an AI champion, identify a quick win AI project, train your team to use AI effectively, develop an AI use policy, and for yourselves, get 10 hours of AI use at least. Ideally 10 hours a week. That's only 2 hours every business day. That's not actually that much. You think of how much you use a computer? This is the new computer. I'm telling you, this is the interface that is going to replace the computer in time. All right. If anybody does want to reach out to me and do a complimentary 30 minutes of AI consulting, just kind of talking about how you can use this in your business,